Hello and welcome to a normal Meet a Nerd with me, Dylan Evans, a very normal person who loves asking those weird questions that you want to know the answer to.
And me, Darragh Ennis, a very nerdy person who loves answering those questions and hopefully educating people a little bit along the way.
Oh, fantastic. How are you
Just a
doing
little
there,
bit, yeah.
Darragh? How are you
I'm not
doing there, Darragh?
not great. I have a bit of a cold, so if people hear me
Oh.
snuffling and stuff, that's just I am human after all, not a robot, and I've also got children, so those little disease vectors have brought something into the house as they do.
Well, it's probably the weather dipped in temperature, didn't it? We had the big heat wave and then it's went a little bit cold. So theoretically, that would
I
bring
know
on
we're
a bit of a
very early
cold.
into the episode, but no, that's not how things work. Colds
What do
are
you mean?
viruses. You catch them from other people. You don't catch them from the weather. Chances
Well,
are it's because my children have been touching me.
so
Yeah.
why'd you get colds and stuff more of a winter then? It's
Well, I
cold,
haven't
you
had,
get a cold.
I haven't had a cold for months and months, and it's the hottest time of the year, and I've caught one. You're just more likely to catch them because it's colder. You spend more time indoors. You don't have your windows open. You're more closeted in with people. All that kind of
Mm.
stuff. And there's also cycles of it. So a lot of diseases like colds and flus and stuff come from poorer countries where people bring their animals in for the winter and they kind of catch cross
Ah.
species jumps and then it travels around the world. So there's cycles of them. So there's a bit of that in it. But yeah, it's not from the weather doesn't give you it's a virus.
A cold's not a cold if
It's
it's
it's not
cold.
physically cold. Yeah. It's just yeah, it's a virus. But anyway, that's
Well,
totally off script, but there we go.
should we get into some mind-blowing questions?
Yes, let's.
Go on then. Right. First one, bit of a weird one, as most of the questions are. What does the moon smell like?
Well, unfortunately, the answer is not cheese.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, it's not
'Cause
cheese. No,
where did that come from? Is that Wallace and Gromit? The whole cheese
well,
thing? Or was
no,
that
I think it's older than that. I think it's probably just the craters in it look like Swiss cheese.
uh,
But I've never looked into it deeply. Maybe we should research that. But yeah, I think it's because it looks a bit like Swiss cheese with all the craters
mm,
and stuff in it. But yeah, it's not actually made of cheese, unfortunately. Otherwise, we'd be
uh,
up there mining it. I do love cheese.
yeah.
Weirdly, it smells like fireworks.
What? The moon smells like fireworks.
Yeah. Do you know that smell you get after a fireworks gone off, or
I love that. I
a
like that
banger's
smell.
gone off, or you had a cap gun or something like that.
Mm.
That smell, spent firepower, spent gunpowder, is what the moon smells like. Really weirdly, and they know this because we've had people on the moon, and they when they come back inside, they can't smell it when they're out there because they're in a sealed suit. But a lot of the dust sticks to
Mm.
them, so the dust is really really fine, but it's also really sharp. So dust, I know that sounds weird, but dust is made of little particles, and here, because of weathering and stuff, they get rounded off like pebbles on a beach.
Mm.
So they're kind of round, so they slide off. That's why dust kind of just dusts off. But it's actually quite jagged on the moon because it never gets weathered, and
Okay.
it's really, really fine, so it sticks to everything. And it smelled like gunpowder. That's what the astronauts have all said.
Is there any explanation for that?
Yeah, there is. So it's not actually gunpowder at all. It's not
That's
chemically
what I was going to
related to
say.
gunpowder. It's not made of. It'd be imagine landing a rocket on
Light a
gunpowder.
match.
Yeah, but they literally launch rockets off it. Just the whole thing would go up. No, it's not chemically related to gunpowder at all. But because there's no atmosphere, it's bombarded by radiation all the time. So our
Mm.
atmosphere doesn't just help us breathe; it protects us really well against space radiation. Stuff that
Yeah,
if something lands from space, you should never go near it because it's radioactive. It's
Dad,
gonna
you
have
would go near it though.
You
Go
would,
near it.
but you shouldn't.
You would if a comet landed in your back
Yeah, you'd
garden.
be
I'm
like,
sprinting
woo!
out.
Yeah, you should really not touch it and leave it alone because a lot of the time it's very radioactive or quite radioactive anyway. And because of that, it's very chemically reactive. So it's constantly reacting, and it's those chemicals being released by the radioactivity that make it smell. So the smell of gunpowder is the reaction of it exploding. That's what it smells like. And it's that kind of reactive thing. So apparently, it really, really smells like that. And they've like multiple astronauts have said that's what it smells like.
The
So
moon smells like fireworks. That was
yeah,
not an answer. I thought you were going to say nothing. It doesn't have a
yeah.
smell.
No,
Move
no.
on.
Well, like obviously, there's no smell when you're there because there's no atmosphere. You can't smell anything. And if you took your helmet off your spacesuit, you'd be dead. But the dust on on the bottom of it and the rocks smell a little bit like fireworks. Weird, isn't it?
So say you did take your suit off on the
Yeah.
moon. Does your head explode like in cartoons?
I don't think that your eyes might go, but because the pressure difference, but you would freeze very, very quickly.
Was it dead cold? Is it? The moon's dead
Or
cold.
if you're in the sun, you'd burn very, very quickly.
Oh, okay, one or the
So
other.
there's a huge swing. So space is incredibly cold, but if you're standing on the moon in the sunlight, it's quite hot. If you're in the dark, it's really, really cold because there's no atmosphere to buffer the temperature. So, you know, if as soon as the shade comes, the heat just disappears completely. So the dark side of the moon is incredibly cold.
Mad. And it smells like
And it
fireworks.
smells like fireworks. Bet you never knew that.
Good that. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this one. Why don't we digest sweet corn? What's going on with the corn? What is this?
Okay, before I'm gonna say this is going to involve your appendix, but we'll start off with the basic thing is that we do digest sweet corn. We digest almost all of it. There's just a tiny piece of it that we don't.
Well,
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point in eating it?
see, I always think this. I'm like, are we even getting the nutrients? What's it
doesn't
doing in there?
It doesn't go straight in and straight out, and like it's not like kernels. It's not the whole thing of corn, right? So, sweet corn, the outside of it, is called a kernel, KERNEL, not like a kernel in the army.
Okay.
But, yeah, and the very, very outside layer of that is called the hull, like on a ship. It's very outside. And it's made of something called cellulose. Now, cellulose is a carbohydrate that we can't digest. It's what largely grass is made of. Loads of plants are made of it. Plant cell walls are made of cellulose. And it's essentially fiber. That's essentially it. And we evolutionarily stopped being able to digest it thousands and thousands of years ago. So, you know, animals that eat plants all of the time can digest it and they can break it down because they've got different enzymes than we do. So they're able to break it down. And this is why cows have multiple stomachs and why rabbits eat their own poo and all that. Did you know rabbits eat their own poo?
I do now.
Yeah. So they need to pass it through multiple times, rabbits. So they have two different types. And the first time they eat their pellets again, and then it goes through again, and then it comes out as a different type of poo that's fully digested, which they don't eat because they have to pass it through twice to break down the cellulose.
I hate this. I thought rabbits were like cute little bunnies.
They are, but they do eat their own poo. Such is life. But yeah, so cellulase we don't have them anymore. And if you ever look at an animal like a rabbit or a cow, their appendix is massive. And if you look at the type of bacteria they have in their gut and all that kind of thing, they've got different bacteria in their gut which help break down cellulose. And that's why our appendix has shrunk right down. It's because we don't eat just plants anymore.
Oh, so that was from when we used to eat grass and stuff.
So when we used to eat leaves and stuff a lot, it was.
How big is your appendix?
Oh, it's like your little finger kind of size. It's small.
Oh,
but like if you look at even a rabbit's one is bigger than ours, and they're much smaller than us. So it's not just a dead end. It still has a use, your appendix. So like it's part of your immune system. But that's what it was for. So we don't have that. So when you're digesting sweet corn, you chew it, and all the bit in the middle, the soft bit that you actually like eating, that goes into your system and it disappears. So if you think about it like popcorn and corn are the same thing. It's just different variations of it. The bit that gets stuck in your teeth is the bit you can't digest.
The rubbish bit. Literally the rubbish bit.
So all the fluffy bit is what you actually digest, and it's the same in sweet corn. It just hasn't puffed up. So it's that bit that goes out in your poo and that you can see. But because a lot of people don't chew it properly and they just bolt it down, it stays relatively intact and it looks like it's still.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was like the full sweet corn.
It might be a little bit of the actual edible, digestible stuff inside, but most of that is gone. If you chew it properly, it'll just be that tiny. It'll be just like an empty sleeve, basically. And it's that gets stuck in your poo. Yeah, and it's just because we've evolved past a point where we can digest them because we don't eat that kind of stuff anymore, and we haven't for hundreds of thousands of years.
I've just had an awful thought. So say you only ate nothing but corn. Corn was your exclusive diet. You then washed it out from your poo. Yeah. Thoroughly washed it. And then ate that again.
Wouldn't do anything. We're not rabbits. We don't have the ability. It'll just go straight through.
It's not like an infinite food glitch.
It's not bad for you. It's actually like fiber is good for you. You know, even though you can't digest it, it's good for your digestive system because it means, you know, we'll be a bit honest about this. It adds bulk.
Okay.
And It means, yeah, not that kind of bulk. Bulk to the poo. And, you know, if you don't have enough fiber, it causes you all sorts of digestive problems. It makes it hard to poo. You get constipated, all that kind of stuff. So fiber is really, really good for you. And as you get older, this is why all bran and bran flakes exist. You know, it's
for the oldies.
For the oldies who, you know, their body starts betraying them. And I'm middle aged now. I'm galloping towards the point where I think fruit and fiber is a good idea rather than a bacon sandwich. Not yet. No, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Nice. What does "Pop Goes the Weasel" mean? What does that mean? Why do we even say that?
I know nursery rhymes are cool. Okay, first of all, nursery rhymes are really cool because one of the reasons why we rhyme things is so that you can't change the words very easily. So they're a very good way of passing information. So it's really difficult to change the words of something that rhymes because you lose the rhyme and you lose the rhythm. So originally the Bible and all sorts of books, when people didn't write stuff down, they did it in verse and lyric because it's easier to remember for one. It's also really hard to change. So it maintains the integrity of the information better. So a lot of times they've got a story behind them. And there's a great book about this. A guy called Albert Jack wrote it, and I read it years ago. It's called "Pop Goes the Weasel," and it explains the origin of nursery rhymes. And some of them are bonkers.
Yeah.
So weasel is rhyming slang. It's Cockney rhyming slang for coat.
Weasel.
Weasel and stoat, coat.
Oh, so it's not actually referencing a weasel.
No, it's referencing the coat, and it's actually about someone who's so poor that they have to sell their coat to the pawnbroker. So half a pound of tuppenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes. So there's no money left, so they have to sell their coat to the pawnbroker. So the pop goes the weasel and stuff. Yeah. So yeah.
I thought someone was killing weasels.
No, it's actually about selling a coat because you're broke. So loads of them are like this. Now, a lot of these are disputed, and a lot of them, like, it's hard to know whether they're true. Like, so Humpty Dumpty's the famous one. Humpty Dumpty, they think was originally a riddle about an egg. So what is an egg? You know, what's the answer? But there's a really strong rumor around that the egg bit was actually made up for Alice in Wonderland and in the illustrations, because that's the first time we saw Humpty Dumpty as an egg. You know, when you picture Humpty Dumpty,
it's an egg sort of man
wearing trousers. Yeah,
it's an egg and kecks.
Yeah, that's from Alice in Wonderland. That's where that comes from.
So he was never to be. It's not saying he's an egg in the actual nursery rhyme.
No, and there is an idea that was a riddle. People would ask each other, "What's this?" And it's actually the answer is an egg. But there's also a really big thing that it's a historical thing from the Civil Wars from in England, and it was a name of a cannon in Colchester, and it was Humpty Dumpty. Just from the noise it makes, like hump, you know, it was a big cannon on the walls of Colchester, and it got blown off the walls by the Roundheads, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again because it was destroyed. And that's fairly widely believed, but there's a lot of, you know, these things aren't for certain. There's another one is that it might actually just be Richard III because he was a hunchback.
Oh,
yeah.
Does he crack his head open though?
No. Well, he did in the end. He got killed at the Battle of Bosworth. And you know, there's other ones like the three blind mice.
See how they run.
Yeah, there's talk that they are actually, because I live in Oxford, there was 3 guys executed in Oxford for sort of religious differences with Mary I, and that she's the farmer's wife. And there was like Latimer, Cranmer, and somebody else, I can't remember. Thomas Ridley. And they were executed on Broad Street. If you go down Oxford Broad Street now, there's an X on the ground in cobbles.
Where they were killed?
The site where they were burned, for heresy.
Wow.
And it's talked that's what that's about. It's like a mocking thing about they were blind because they didn't see the true religion and all that kind
of thing. My God.
Yeah.
Why mice then? Why mice? Just to belittle them?
Just to belittle them and to say that they were small creatures and stuff. Now, again, sometimes the evidence for this is decades or even centuries after the event. And I don't think that particular thing turns up until about 50 or 60 years later, which, you know, casts a bit of doubt on it. But it's a nice story.
It's weird to think that nursery rhymes are like not just nonsense gobbledygook.
So some of them are, you know, like some of them are just silly, but a lot of them have like at least ideas behind them.
Isn't what's Ring a Ring of Roses? Is that the plague or is that a myth?
That's the plague, but Ring a Ring of Rosie I think the first instance of it being recorded was in like the middle. It was well past the Middle Ages. It was like into the Renaissance. It was hundreds of years later. So people don't really believe that very much anymore. But that was always the story. And that's what happens with these stories is that people are going, "Oh, really? Is it?" Some of them are probably true. Some of them are probably, they're fitting the facts to it after. Yeah, but Pop Goes the Weasel is definitely about being broke and putting your coat in the pond to buy rice.
That's insane. I can't believe that. I thought someone was just squeezing weasels.
Yeah, no.
Squeezing weasels. That sounds like a great band.
Squeezing weasels.
Ooh. Why is someone called a dead ringer?
A dead ringer. So there is a brilliant but fake idea that this is when you were buried, you were so worried about being buried alive and misdiagnosed as being dead that they would leave a string down to your coffin with a bell over your gravestone.
Oh,
so you could pull it if they buried you by mistake.
I'm actually alive.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not dead yet, kind of stuff. And this is completely untrue. There is no evidence for that whatsoever. Of course, they knew you were dead. You didn't get buried the day you died. You usually got buried at least a couple of days afterwards, or at least the next.
That must have happened though. Someone's defo being.
I'm sure in the billions of years that there was someone in a deep coma or something. But like, you put a mirror or something under someone's nose, you check their pulse. Like this is well known.
A mirror under the nose.
Yeah. If you put a mirror under the nose, if someone's very shallowy breathing, it'll fog up.
Oh, it'd fog up. Oh, there you go. I'm learning so much. Yeah, early on, I'm learning.
Yeah, so that's like. And especially with animals, so it's very hard to take their pulse. That's a really good way of checking to see if they're still going. But yeah, that's nonsense. That's widely believed, but it's an urban legend. It's actually from horse racing. This
dead ringer is.
Yeah. So a ringer, as in you bring a ringer into your team, where you bring someone in to like stack the odds. So you get like a pro player in. That it's the same idea. And what they would do in the old days is they would get a horse in that would look like another horse, but was a much better horse to fool the bookies. So you'd have, say, a mediocre or a terrible horse, and it'd run for a while, and it'd be like 20 to 1 or 30 to 1, and then you'd get like a grade 1 from going to win the Derby kind of horse. And
it would have to look the same.
And it had to look the same, and it was dead on. It was dead on the same. So it was a dead ringer. So it's dead as in accurate.
Yeah.
So it's accurate rather than not alive. So you got a dead ringer in, you placed loads of money on it to win, cleaned them out and got out of there quick before the bookies. But it had to be something that looked very, very like the original horse, in every way, or else, people would notice. So you couldn't substitute in with which had like white socks on its feet for one that didn't, or a grey horse for a brown one. But that was it. It was a horse racing rigging term.
But from how far back?
A long time ago, like Victorian times and earlier. But betting on horse racing in England has been going, like the classics have been going for well over 100 years. It's old. So, probably 19th, maybe even 18th century.
But dead ringer is about scamming the bookies.
yeah, and just being dead on, dead accurate, as in like to the very last measure, to the very end, to the dead end. And that was it. So it's a different meaning of the word dead. And a ringer, as in you get a ringer in for your team. Basically, that's it. Yeah.
Mind's blown. Mind's blown. It's good that. Why do men have nipples? Have you got nipples, Darragh?
Yeah,
double check.
Just making
still
sure.
There.
Yeah,
still there.
They haven't fallen off. They're not slices of pepperoni I put on there by mistake. So part of this is because people like having them played with during sex. That's going to sound weird, but it's true.
No, each to their own. Each to their own.
We do not kink shame on ANMAN. You do what you want to do between consenting adults. But basically, when we develop as an embryo, early on, sex hasn't been determined. Male and female embryos are exactly the same up until about a month, maybe a little bit longer. So they're just the same. There is no way to tell them apart without genetically testing. And when you are a male, you have a Y chromosome. So females have two X's on the sex chromosome. Males have an X and a Y. And there's a gene on the Y that gets turned on at about 40, 50 days, something in and around that time.
Yeah.
That flips the switch and starts to turn it into a male. So, but the origins of nipples happen before that point.
The origins of nipples.
Yeah. Well, they're called mammary ridges.
I prefer nipple.
Yeah. So mammary ridges are the tissue at the bottom that grow into nipples in the embryo, and they're actually that's actually put down in the embryo at about 30 to 35 days. That's when that happens.
Right.
And the Y chromosome kicks in usually a week or two after that, and they're already there. So that's all it is. So they're already there, and you're basically a Ken doll as a boy until months in. You can't tell a baby is a boy by ultrasound or by looking until I think it's nearly 3 months.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like it's 2.5, 3 months or something. It's quite far in before like the internal bits start going, but to actually physically be able to see something obvious, it's a good few months in. So the nipples are there way before the old chap makes an appearance. So that's all it is. But with evolution, what usually happens is if something will stay as long as it doesn't cost you anything, and you'll keep it. Yeah. So you don't get rid of something that isn't causing you a problem by evolution. Evolution, the pressure for it is to get rid of things that are causing problems and to make you better and more efficient. That's sort of like the mathematics behind it. And there is an idea that because an awful lot of evolution is linked to having sex, because that's where babies come from. Another mind-blowing ANMAN fact.
What? The birds and the bees episode.
So anything that increases the chance of animals having sex and having babies is very heavily selected for in evolution.
Do you think it, like, visually as well, though?
Would we quite possibly visually.
Weird? We would look weird if we were just completely.
It might well be. It might well be that females would look at a male with no nipples and go, "There's something wrong. There's something missing," or the fact that it can add to the pleasure of sex for people. All that kind of stuff.
So I've heard.
So if you think of it like a peacock. A peacock's tail is pointless. It makes them more visible, more likely to be predated on. They can't fly as well, but it impresses the females. It impresses the birds. That's what it is, and that's what it's for. So it's anything that increases your likelihood of having children is very heavily selected for by evolution. That's just how it is. So if even a very tiny fraction of an amount, men having nipples at some point made you more likely to be able to have children, you would have kept it evolutionarily.
So is it male peacocks have got the feathers, or all peacocks?
No, well, peahens are brown and have short tails.
I did not know that. I thought they were like the women for some. They're peacocks. I'll get oh my god, I feel so,
yeah.
I feel so, whenever we do this, I feel so stupid. About 5 times an episode, I'm like
the amount of people who don't realize that. No, a peacock's a boy.
Peacock,
always a boy.
Obviously.
And the females, they look like if you basically got Photoshop and removed the tail and sort of turned it a grey kind of brown color instead of that blue-green, that's what it looks like. It's almost exactly the same physically, except for the tail and the color.
Never really put that together.
Yeah, so that's all it is. Nipples come in early before you're a boy, and they're either an advantage or are neutral. So evolution never got rid of them. So that's it.
Viva la nipples. Yeah. Maybe not that. Oh, this is for you. This. Darragh, what is the maddest fact you've heard recently?
So this is something I get asked at every quiz I host, and it's a big thing. That I'm taller than I look on TV, and what's Brad like are the two that I get asked about. But this is right up there. Yeah, I'm 6'3", by the way. I'm not small.
Yeah, he is tall. We've met. He's a lot taller than I thought.
But I found out recently, I don't know where I heard. I think I heard this on an Irish comedian, Neil Delamere, has a podcast called "Why Would You Tell Me That?" Very much in ANMAN's stride. If you like this, you'll probably like that. But on that, I found out that Julia Roberts, when she was born as a baby, her mother's maternity bill for the hospital, because it's America, it's not free, was paid for by Martin Luther King. I Have a Dream Man, I'm
aware.
Rights activist, paid for Julia Roberts' birth.
They don't. Nah, Martin Luther King's well older than this.
No, he's not.
They don't overlap. They don't overlap in my head.
How old do you think Julia Roberts is? She was in Pretty Woman in the 80s or the early 90s. That's 35 years ago.
Is it just because Martin Luther King, you always see him in like a black and white photo?
Yeah.
In my head, that's a lot older. They don't overlap.
He died in 1963.
That's mad.
Yeah,
that's mad.
It's bonkers.
Is that what it is? That's what makes it a bit more mind blowing.
Yeah, is that
it's like Picasso as well. People think Picasso is a lot older than he was.
Yeah,
like because he's an artist.
It's one of those things, and like that effect. Yeah, because like Picasso was around in the 70s.
Yeah, but people think he's from like back in the day, like Van Gogh.
I don't know exactly when he died, but there's a reason. If he died in 77, which I think he might be a bit earlier, he could have seen Star Wars. I think he might have died before that. He wasn't very far away from Star Wars.
Rosa Parks could have seen Shrek. Is another one.
Yeah, she only died recently.
Yeah, which is so stupid.
And like Marilyn Monroe and Queen Elizabeth II were born in the same year.
Oh, stop. Yeah,
so with those kind of mind-messing ones. But yeah, Martin Luther King apparently and Julia Roberts' mother were friends, and
okay,
they knew each other.
I was going to say,
well.
why did he
and apparently he chipped in. I don't know if he paid for it all, but he definitely chipped in for the maternity costs.
He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, well, he did seem like a nice guy. He had his downfalls, I have to say. Like, we have this thing where we like to sort of typecast people into being nice or awful and nothing.
Yeah, true.
Everybody's a mixture. So like he had plenty of affairs on his wife.
Yeah.
And for like a man who was a religious man, that's not a great look. And, all that kind of thing. But he was definitely, a brilliant man in so many ways. Very brave, leader of a movement, all that kind of stuff. But he wasn't perfect. But then nobody is except us, Dylan.
That's true. And he paid for Julia Roberts. Would you say?
Paid for Julia Roberts to exist, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's mad, that.
Yeah.
How do blood types work? What is a blood type? What's going on?
All right, this comes from our borderline stalker and super fan Rose, who sent this in. And a lot of people don't understand blood types at all.
Me?
Yeah. And they know it's got A's and B's and O's and pluses and minuses in it. They probably don't know their own one or what it means. I'm A negative.
Is that a good one?
It's pretty good. O negative for various reasons is the best one, but I'll go on to that. So the first time transfusions are quite old. The first person to attempt one that we know of was in 1667.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I didn't know that because I looked up a bit about this fact. I knew that there was a later one, but that wasn't between two humans. It was between a sheep and a human.
Really?
So
what were they trying to do?
This French guy, just to show that you can switch blood. So they didn't realize like interspecies stuff. So a guy called Jean-Baptiste Denis, so I'm assuming French, transfused sheep's blood into a 15-year-old boy. There you go. Because in those days, scientists could do what they liked. Basically, he was the doctor to the Sun King in France, Louis XIV. And the boy survived miraculously because trans-species transfusions generally are not a good thing. But
not advised.
This led to other people trying it out on different, like between people and between animals and all that kind of stuff. And quite a lot of people died. So they just stopped doing it because they went, okay, this is lethal. Let's not do it. The first human-to-human one that we know of was a British guy called James Blundell. And that was in 1818, which is the one I knew about.
That's still well older than I thought.
Yeah, and they did it for people who'd had surgery or people who'd had blood loss, and a certain proportion of them, quite a majority of them, died, and they couldn't figure out why until they figured out what blood types were. Okay, so there's 8 main types. There's about 30 different subtypes altogether, but there's 8 main blood groups, and they are A, B, and O and plus in various combinations. So it's A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, AB positive, AB negative, O negative, and O positive. And so what that means is your blood cells have on the outside of them different types of protein. They're called antigens, and it's what your immune system reacts to. Okay, so if you get one that's compatible with you, your immune system won't react to it, and you won't reject the blood and die, which is what happens. Okay. So if you get the wrong type in. So there's the A type protein, the B type protein, the O type protein, and then there's one called rhesus, which is named after the monkeys. You know rhesus monkeys?
Rhesus monkey. Which ones are they? Little fellas?
Little fellas, yeah. And they did a lot of the research in them, which is why they're called rhesus. And so that's plus and minus are rhesus positive, rhesus negative. So you've got different combinations of those, and you have to have certain combinations for you to be able to take the blood. All right. So if you are O negative,
is that a good one?
Yes. That means you can use that blood for anybody.
Anyone?
Yeah. O negative, universal donor. Anyone can have O negative blood. If you're an O negative
super person, blood. That's like super blood.
If you're AB positive, which means you've got all of the, you've got A, you've got B, and rhesus. That means you won't react to anything because you've got all the reactants in your blood anyway. So you can get blood from anyone. Because it's only if it has something you don't, then you react. So that's all it is. It's just different combinations of these proteins. And if you have some that you can, that if you get some in, that's something you don't have. So if you're A positive and you get B in, that's going to if you're AB positive, you've got them all. So you can just take whatever you like.
So when you say rejecting blood, what happens?
Your immune system recognizes it as being foreign.
And
attacks it off as if it's a pathogen.
Right.
So it basically attacks your own blood.
Brilliant.
So it's like rejecting an organ, any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't recognize it as being you. It recognizes it as being someone else. And they figured out what it is that your immune system finds. And they're A, B, O, and plus and minus. And that's
smart, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's really clever.
Saved.
Yeah. Oh, unbelievable numbers. Like modern surgery couldn't happen. You know, when they started doing it in a big way in like World War I and stuff, it saved so many lives. And you couldn't do any major surgery really. And if you were older, especially, or really young, you'd never recover. Because if you lost, you know, a pint of blood when you're a child, that's so much of your blood, like, you'd never recover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
could you not produce more? But not.
Yeah, but
produce a pint.
But you can't. Like a big adult male can lose quite a lot. Cause I think we've got 8 or 9 pints of blood if you're a man.
9 pints. That's
something like that. Yeah, it's quite a lot. I think so. Someone better check those numbers. I didn't check that, but I think it's a large number. So when you've got a large volume,
in pints. Why do we measure it in pints?
It's just old school. We don't really. But when you do pages of blood now, I think they're 500 mils. But
that's okay. So it's not like a.
There's something. It's like you know, you get a pint in the pub, you get a pint of milk. If it's really hot in England for reasons I can't understand, they measure the heat in Fahrenheit. They say, "Oh, it's 100 degrees outside."
Yeah, I hate that. I was speaking to me nan and granddad, and they brought that up, and it confused me. I was like, "Oh, I was like 35 degrees." And they were like, "What, 90?" And I was like, "Whoa, you're doing the American thing on me now? I'm confused."
Yeah. So, but weirdly, a lot of those people will only do that when it's really hot. If it's cool, they'll do Celsius. Yeah,
doesn't sound as hot, does it?
Yeah. It's the UK is weird like that. It's the only really country in the world that embraces both set of measurements.
True.
So
who else does Celsius? Europe?
Oh, everyone does Celsius. Yeah. So
is it Americans that do
the imperial system with miles, inches, all that stuff? It's officially, I think it's like 5 or 6 countries in the world, and it's America, Liberia, and a couple of others. The other 180 something do metric, and Britain does a mixture of both.
Oh wow.
Britain's I think, as far as I know, Britain's the only one that does a mixture of both. Like, it's hard to say this without saying the word stupid. For reasons known only to British people, they didn't change to the metric system for like speed limits.
Right.
Everywhere else did. They just didn't here because they don't. British people don't like that kind of change, and they're really stubborn about it. But it just makes way more sense. So like, it's weird if you're driving in Ireland and Northern Ireland, and a lot of the roads cut across the border, and sometimes you might cross the border 5 or 6 times on one trip, and you're changing from metric to imperial units all the time. So the road signs change and everything. So it's just a pain.
Yeah. And bit stupid.
a little bit. I just don't understand that kind of stubbornness. Everybody, and for the record, I think everybody should drive on the right hand side of the road. The whole world should do it. It's nonsense that in countries don't.
Yeah, it must get confused in that.
Yeah.
I don't drive, but that must be wild.
Anyway, yeah, that's how blood types work, kind of.
Oh, yeah, that. Right, so we need your help to keep this podcast going. Not only should you be subscribing and following us, get your questions in under any video, any clip, and you probably will make it on the show. Just get in, get the comments in, get the questions in. Come on.
Yeah, we need those questions, and they can be big, wide open questions, or they can be silly little shower thoughts, whichever you like. We just need them to keep it going, and make sure you share this podcast with your friends.
Yeah, spread the word. Spread the word.